Welcome back, Fiber Friends, to another episode of the Wool to Gold podcast. So this is future Brian making the intro now to warn y'all that in this episode, although it's super fun because we crochet an entire sweater together, parts of it are a struggle. I'm going to be so real with y'all. We yap a little bit about wool grading this episode too, if that's of any interest to you. However, some of the audio and some of the video footage and clips in this are not like my best quality. I'm not convinced that like the back camera is better than the front facing camera. My front facing camera footage in this entire episode, you can see, is much more high quality and clear despite using like similar lighting and conditions. So I don't know. I'm just saying, I even think the audio with some of those clips is a little bit low quality. So please bear with me because as the video progresses, the quality of both the clips and the audio also increases. I'm also going to be adding a microphone to my repertoire in February. So I promise it is coming. I'm going to be ordering a mic. Thank you guys once again for all of the support. I really appreciate it, all of our newcomers, and I really hope you guys enjoy this episode, especially given the week that I think we have all had. Also, I am filming this first thing in the morning before I have gotten to shower or shave, so you guys are going to ignore the hat and my general disheveled appearance and just enjoy the video. As you can see, we have a different setup today. I am sitting in bed instead of sitting in the chair that I usually do for spinning, because today we're not going to be spinning at all. We're going to be crocheting and frankly drafting our own sweater. So this video was inspired by another YouTuber who made this really great tutorial how-to motivational video, essentially like how to crochet any sweater and how to sort of self-draft most types of sweaters if you want to. I really enjoy this video. It just helped me kind of like get the kickstart that I needed to get a jump on this project. I have been wanting to self-draft a sweater for a while, and some recent events kind of made me want to actually get this sweater into the world. You'll see once it's done kind of the design elements, but I'm going to talk a little bit about self-drafting it and swatching it, the yarn that I used in that entire process and what that looked like and what like the math looked like for that if you want to do something similar yourself. Okay, so the part that everybody's probably curious about, what kind of yarn are we using for this? So my yarn choice was inspired by none other than one of my favorite mutuals, Jackass Collective. She has been talking recently about her love of patent yarn, and I said, you know what? I can get patent yarn here in the US. We carry it in Michael's. I'm not sure if Joann's carries it or not, but here's the thing. I had a gift card to Michael's and the patents was on sale and they had all of the neutral colors in stock. So the base color that we have here is Patents Heather. It's a Patents Classic Wool Worsted. It is 3.5 ounces, 100 grams, 194 yards / 177 meters. Obviously, as the name suggests, it is 100% wool and it is worsted weight. And then I did get this yarn in 2 different colors. However, I mainly got it in this color. So this color is called Heather. It's this nice like deep rich brown, and then this one is called Erin, and it is essentially, it's like white cream, and I'm not really sure if I'm gonna hold this with something or not. I haven't really decided. I know I'm not gonna hold most of the sweater with anything. I just might hold like very very light lace weight mohair double with something like this, just to give it like a little bit of color. So in total, I ordered 9 balls of the Heather and I ordered 4 balls of the Erin color. Obviously, because this is a self-drafted pattern and I don't have an actual pattern to reference, I have a really rough estimate as to the amount of yarn that I need. I'm pretty sure I got more than enough. I'm pretty sure that I'm going to have some left over. Fingers crossed though, because again, this is self-drafted, so like we're kind of playing yarn chicken because I'm not entirely sure, but I'm pretty sure we have enough yarn. So the first step in this process, before anything, before I even pick out a sweater that I want to try to imitate the design of, I need to swatch it. I know a lot of people do 4" by 4" crochet swatches for their swatch tests. I really prefer to do a 6" by 6" square, just because I think the bigger the fabric, the more accurate of an idea you'll have as to what you'll end up with. So I crocheted a 6" by 6" crochet square, and I ended up with essentially a 6" by 7" crochet square, which tells me that although this yarn expands / stretches kind of in one direction, it's not really going to expand or stretch much in the other. So I kept that in mind when I started to do some of the maths for the actual sweater design, which I'll show you next. Just so you guys know, before we move on, I am doing this sweater entirely in single crochet, or almost entirely in single crochet, and so that is what I did the swatch in as well. Alright, so I pulled out my handy dandy notebook where I have been making sure to record like all of the math along the way so I can reference it. So again, we started with a 6x6 swatch and it grew about an inch vertically. So that means it's not gonna really stretch horizontally. I need to make sure to have enough size and enough width when I'm actually doing the project. However, it is going to stretch vertically, so up and down, which kind of makes sense with crochet, especially like a single crochet stitch. And so knowing that, we are going to account for that when we are actually crocheting the body of the sweater. This is the sweater that I actually used for reference when I was drafting this pattern. So what I did is I just got like any kind of measuring tape, and I started by measuring the bottom. So the way that this girl kind of shows you in the tutorial, it's worked from the bottom up. I'm sure if you want to work it differently, or you want to self-draft differently, or you don't want to have to work the sweater essentially all in one piece, then you don't have to do it this way. But one of the benefits of this kind of like self-drafting tutorial is that the most of the sweater is kind of worked all in like one singular piece, which is really cool. So how I started is I measured this bottom band, not the very bottom of the sweater, because this sweater has ribbing, right? And I'm gonna add the ribbing on later to this sweater that I'm making, I'm pretty sure, assuming we have enough yarn again. But yeah, I measured this. I took a few other measurements, but I wanted to just cast on the project and start it. So I made sure to get that like bottom of the sweater measurement, and that is about 20 inches across. So I made sure when I cast it on, which I did have to cast on like twice to make sure that it was like exactly a little bit over 20 inches, so that it's like 20.25 inches, right? 20.25 inches, just to give myself like a little bit of wiggle room, because I like this sweater, but you know, a little wiggle room never hurt anybody. And then as far as like up and down, in order to get to this neck part here, it's going to be about 20 inches up and down. So with the fact that the fabric is going to stretch up and down, what that actually means is that from here to here, what I'm actually gonna have to crochet is a little over 17 inches, 17.15. And then when I get to 12.85 inches, so almost 13 inches up and down, I'm going to start working the sleeves in as well. If this doesn't really make sense to you, or what I'm saying you can't like visualize, don't worry, because I'm actually going to show you the process of making the sweater, and you guys are going to be excited to know that, as I mentioned, not only have I cast on already, but we have like a nice little portion going on this sweater already. I think when I measured it, it's like about 7 inches. And so yeah, we are already trucking. Womp womp. I'm probably gonna insert like a literal sound effect here because I did too many rows. I preemptively did too many rows down here without even like thinking or calculating the number of stitches that I would need to have the color work lie where I want it to on the sweater. And so I had to rip all of it out, unfortunately, and restart so that I could put the color work in. As you can see though, we are trucking along with this color work. I kind of wanted to show you guys like how I design my color work, because it's really simple, and I know a lot of people use Stitch Fiddle and like online resources for things like that, but if you hate Stitch Fiddle, if you really struggle with keeping track of like which block or stitch you're on with like online platforms and things like that, highly recommend just getting some like good old-fashioned graphic paper. I've done a lot of like test designs here, and you can like count out the stitches to see if you have enough room to write what you want to. I don't know, I just think the graphic paper for me is like a lot more intuitive than online tools. I wanted to share that if you are looking to do specifically like less color work and more like letter work like I'm doing here. I just think this is a really convenient option. I have to do at least like 13 to 14 inches of stitching before I can add on more stitches for the actual sweater sleeves. And so I know I have a ways to go, but I just wanted to show you guys the update. I am still on the first ball of yarn for both of these. As you can see, I have plenty of white left over still, and then I have very little of the heather left. I'm gonna need to open a new ball soon. This is making me a lot more confident though that I'm definitely gonna have enough yarn for this project, and now I'm like thinking that maybe I want to make like the neck ribbing or something like that white or some different color just for funsies. I don't know, kicking the idea around. Alrighty, so good thing I pulled out this sweater to compare and see if I needed to split for the sleeves. It looks like I do, or I guess this isn't splitting, I'm just adding extra stitches. So I got to the end of this row and I chained 49, but really it's 47 with 2 making up the turning chain, right? And then we're going to work back this way and do the same on the other side to start adding the sleeves and the rest of the color work. Okay, it's time for a sweater update. Right now, it is the 21st, okay, of January. It's been a minute. I have traveled to Savannah and back, Savannah, Georgia, which was fantastic. Had a wonderful trip. The flight was, I mean, if you've been tracking the snow that's hitting the entire East Coast and a lot of the South this week, it was a trip getting back, I will say. I had a lot of fun though. It was a great time. Right before I left for the flight, I had the unfortunate realization. Now, if you're watching this video now, right, and you said, well, I'm curious about this sort of outline sweater pattern that Brian is using to do his self-drafting, I'm going to go check it out. I've already linked the right video down below. So you're not going, you might have been looking at my sweater and saying, Brian, that does not look exactly like what the people in this video, the way that they like drafted their sweaters. You would be right, because I was following the wrong video. So I had watched a few different videos, a few different iterations, because again, there are a lot of them here on YouTube and on TikTok and Instagram. So like, if these don't work for you, then you can go looking for your own resources for very like similar patterns. I had watched a video a while ago in my YouTube history. That's where I started pulling it from. That I was like, oh yeah, this is the video. This is the video with the sweater that like I liked the outcome the most. I fast forwarded in that video that I was like following along with, and I was like, nope, this is actually not the right sweater, because I didn't want to have to do those like the increases kind of in this area when it came to adding like the sleeve part on first. And then I also didn't love the collar as much in that video, so I had to frog back a ton of work, like hours of work, probably like 2 to 3 hours of work, which like whatever. I have since recrocheted those areas, so I'm gonna like hold this up for you guys so you can see. I have recrocheted that color work since. I have reworked, I have the neck hole and it's looking good. It's gonna go like that. I am gonna put a ribbing in it, so don't come for me yet on it. And then on this side, I really only have like, I think I counted and it's like 25 more rows on this back side. So I feel like I'm kind of in some ways back to where I was essentially an entire week ago. But that's fine, that's okay, that's like part of the crochet journey. This is what happens when you try something new, especially if you are drafting yourself. Like, that's something about self-drafting that I think a lot of people really hate, is that there's a lot of frogging involved. There is like no doubt about it, unless you are just like a mind to, like, you can see, not only can you see all the math and like the shapes in your head, but you can actually make them come to life the first time doing them. If you can do that, God, kudos to you. That's not how it works for me. With self-drafting, often there's a lot of like crossing out and redoing and all of that type of stuff. So that's what happened here. That's okay though, because again, we're making progress, and I really think I have I have about 10 days, okay, until I have to go back to work. I think I can finish the sweater in 10 days. I am reinvigorated. I kind of wanted to come back on here and check in again because frankly, I like really didn't want to, if I'm being honest. Like it's the 21st. I live in the United States. Things are crazy. Things are already unhinged. I have always spoken my distaste for Elon Musk. I am so unsurprised at his actions personally because if you like, that's what I don't understand about people who like him. If you know anything about like his history and his family's background, how can you be surprised about these actions? That's so unsurprising. I'm just saying. Like, if you already have all the facts about him, it really surprises me that you would continue to be a fan of him, given his, yeah, all of that. Anyway, regardless, I'm really trying to, keep it, I don't know, keep myself level and trying to continue to do things that bring me joy, which right now is doing a lot of crafting. I am listening to The Secret Diary of Laura Palmer because despite being obviously, a lot of you will know, like, David Lynch passed away, and I was a huge Twin Peaks fan. I love Twin Peaks. I love the soundtrack for that movie specifically. It reminds me a lot of my own town in an incredible number of ways, and that's only increasing with me listening to The Secret Diary of Laura Palmer. So I'm only about, like, I think they have the whole thing online on YouTube for free, audiobook style. I think it's about like 6.5 hours. I think I'm about 2.5 hours, maybe 3 hours in now. I am hoping to get through like a fair portion of this, maybe even get to a sleeve by the time, I'm really thinking I can get to a sleeve by the time that I finish The Secret Diary of Laura Palmer. I'm gonna be doing a ton of crochet today, and then I found a really interesting resource, recently that I just kind of wanted to share about. I don't really know how it's gonna pan out, but maybe this will end up being in a future episode, because maybe I will take a bunch of these free courses. I guess the New Zealand Wool Association has some really great free courses available online, kind of like do at your own pace, about like wool appreciation and kind of those first few steps into wool grading. If you've been on the channel for a while, you know that I have really taken an interest in a lot of the different steps of turning fleeces into wool. Like, I love actually washing the wool myself and doing that process on a smaller scale, but also on a larger scale, it fascinates me. I'm gonna post an episode of Brian's book reviews where I talk about Vanishing Fleece, because I read it on my plane ride out to Savannah, Georgia, because I did have a layover, so I had about 4 hours, and for me, that's enough time to, like, eat a book that size. Absolutely loved the book. It really, I don't know, it just really made me, I was like, maybe I need to buy a mill. Like, maybe that's the future that will be out there for me. And it would be so funny if one day somebody, like, takes this clip from my YouTube and cuts it with, like, me standing in front of a mill. Maybe I'll be the guy who cuts it. It'll probably have to be me. There is a very low likelihood that anybody's going to be making a documentary about me. But wouldn't that be funny? Wouldn't that be neat? It just made me think about, like, all the different ways that I could really get involved in wool here in the US, because it's just something that I really care about. I really care about the sheep. Anyway, there are a ton of different ways that you can get involved in, like, wool here in the US and help contribute to the maintenance of that system. And I've been kind of trying to find my place in that system, I think, for a hot minute. It's something that I really care about. And I haven't really found exactly where I kind of, like, fit into the system, that I feel like I can be used to the best of the system's benefit, if that makes any sense. I kind of tried my hand at shearing, obviously, because I haven't grown up around sheep. I'm an outsider to that at the end of the day. Although I learned an incredible amount, and I do feel like I could justify owning sheep. Like, I can do it well enough that I could justify owning sheep, right? I've really only practiced a handful of times to, like, post class, and it's always on the same flock. And a lot of them are baby dolls, so, like, it's just kind of a mess in that regard anyway. But I've been kind of looking for, like, my proper place in the system, and I've accepted that, like, shearing is not exactly, I think, where I need to be. But I'm kind of now moving towards, like, things like wool grading and things like that, I found a lot of the discussion about how the wool labs of the US are disappearing. And that's really disheartening and upsetting to me because again, like if you want having those wool labs in the US just makes every step of it more accessible because if a farmer has to internationally ship his wool to get it graded, it's just less likely to happen, especially with these upcoming like tariffs that we can all expect, right? So that inhibits the American farmer from having that information for people like hand spinners or folks looking to manufacture an entire yarn, right? Because now that I read the book, I understand that, gosh, if you want a yarn line, you are buying so many bales of yarn, bales of wool, more than likely from a bunch of different sources to kind of like blend together. And then again, like let's say this is a white yarn that you're trying to produce because you want to over dye like a true white yarn. A few black hairs really can like goof up the whole process. Wool grading is really important. Wool skirting. I would really like to be a better and faster skirter. I would like to take a class on that as well. And apparently this 100% free resource online is actually like a really, really good base education before you go and spend money on wool grading classes with people in person, which I really appreciate that this resource is out there and that they're very like forward about that. They're pretty open about that. They put things on different levels and different classes on different levels so you understand where to start, which I really appreciate because our wool association here in the US is great, but they have not received their like due funding in so long. And I don't know about any of you guys, but I am a little bit worried that that will be under the chopping block almost immediately with the whole Department of Efficiency thing. Anyway, that's all I'm gonna ramble for now because I have to get back to working on this sweater. So I'll check in with you guys next time. Maybe when I cast on the sleeves. When I start working on the sleeves, I am going to show you guys how it looks again. I was about to say, maybe I should put it on for you guys, but I don't have a stitch marker in because I live on the edge and I immediately pulled out like one stitch the second I tried to pick this up. So we're just gonna get back to working on it. We're not gonna try it on yet. So I'm almost halfway through Sleeve Island. It is now Wednesday. It is the 22nd. I got through the whole entire body. As you can see, I cast on this sleeve. I did put in the stitch markers for this side as well. I'm finished with this sleeve, in fact, and now I'm just doing the ribbing, which is literally the bane of my existence because I sized down my hook because I want the ribbing to be tighter. So I took a little bit of the white yarn, right, and every other stitch I brought together, I cinched together so that this has kind of like, it already has a little bit of like a cinch on the cuff, but then I want the ribbing to contribute to that as well. So I'm just doing half double crochets, back loop only, to get this ribbing look. And yeah, I'm using a 3 1/4 hook because I could not reasonably size down to a 3. The ribbing, like, it looked too tight. It did not look right. So yeah, this is the hook that I'm using, and I hate my life. I really, really do. I can't believe that I'm only halfway through this. I've had to frog it so many times because I keep forgetting to count my stitches, and I keep ending up with either 9 or 11, and it's 10. It's 10 stitches. Yeah, it's gonna be okay though. It's gonna be okay. Once I'm done with this one, I get to go back to the other sleeve. So that's the reason that I wanted to start the ribbing too. Some people would be like, oh, I would have waited to do all the ribbing at the end. No, man, I know that this ribbing is gonna bug the hell out of me because I'm really considering doing this size hook for the ribbing on the bottom and around the neck too, because I want it to like look cinched. And I feel like that's always the problem with like that half double crochet, is that if you use the same hook size, that you're not going to get as much of a like a true like ribbing effect. I know that I could do like slip stitches, right, to get like a real true ribbing, but I'm not going to do that because I'm not a masochist. That's just like not my vibe. But yeah, I'm really happy with this. We're trucking along. And if you're curious, I think I'm now like 4.5 hours through Laura Palmer's Secret Diary. So once I'm done with it, I might have to rewatch Twin Peaks, and then I've never watched Walk Through the Flames with Me, I think is like the prequel movie, which in my opinion, you should never watch prequels before before you like see the actual series. So if you've never seen Twin Peaks, don't watch the prequel first. I feel like it's not going to make any sense. All this David Lynch stuff has really made me want to make some kind of like Twin Peaks, Laura Palmer type of sweater. I don't know. I'm trying to like think of ideas for the next sweater. Okay, guys, check it out. Substantial progress here. So I did end up frogging the ribbing. I finished it, seamed it when it was like twice this size, and then decided that I hated how long it was. And so I took it back to about 4 stitches tall. It's pretty short now, but I like it a lot better. I like it a lot better. I'm glad I ripped it out. So yeah, I did sew this together just because I thought while I had the white thread, like, going, I just crocheted it together. So it is seamed here, but obviously the brown / like grayish heather isn't seamed yet. So I really just need to crochet on this sleeve, get this sleeve done, do the ribbing on that one and seam it. And then I'll start to seam all of the like underarms and side portions. Once that's bound together, I'll probably start working on the bottom ribbing and the ribbing around the neck. I'm going to keep in mind that I really didn't want the ribbing to be super high, and so I'll probably use a similar stitch count. I am going to keep using the like 3.25 millimeter hook for the ribbing on the other hand, but I think for the bottom and the neck ribbing, I might just use the 4 millimeter hook because this is brutal. This is brutal. I hate it. It's not even that I hate working with lightweight yarns, it's that this yarn is 3.25 millimeters is like probably the smallest hook size I would use for this yarn because it's so small that it starts to have a hard time pulling all 3 strands that the yarn is made up with like through. And so yeah, it's tough. Yeah, I think that's the plan. That's the plan. We're gonna keep working on it. Wouldn't it be great? Can I finish another sleeve today? Can I finish another sleeve today? I'm motivated. I really want to get this done, guys, because also I have other YouTube videos that I really want to post, but this footage is just taking up a lot of space and time, so I kind of want to get this done before I start all of that. Alrighty, here's the check-in. It is all done, so I do need to wash and block this sweater. As you can see, the ribbing definitely needs to be blocked out around the neck and down here as well. I'm really glad I added the ribbing though. I do think that it brings the whole thing together, and I have tried it on. I won't lie, I was so afraid to try this on, but I think it fits perfectly right, a little snug. I think once I block it, it's gonna be perfect. I really just wanted to check in with you guys to tell you before I wash and block it. I'm so proud of this project. I'm so glad it's done. I'm kind of just like basking in its glory right now. I'm going to be using soak to wash this sweater. I'm just throwing it out there. Yarnspirations, who I think like helps get the Patons yarn into the US, or like owns Patons yarn now. And then Soak, sponsor me. Send me some gifties. I talk about y'all all the time. I really sing your praises. So, and then before I went to bed, I just wanted to show you guys it all laid out. All the water's been squished out of it. It is being blocked out to the best that I can with the limited space that I have. And these are the knit blockers that I use. I actually find these really, really helpful, especially for big pieces like this. Like, if I had to painstakingly put all of the little individual tea needles in, I don't know, I probably wouldn't properly block it, so these are definitely worth the money, at least for me. Alrighty, fiber friends, what do we think? First, I have to say, the fit now is essentially perfect. I think the fit, especially in the body, now that it's blocked out, is just a lot nicer. Also in the armpit area, once it was blocked, like, it's a lot more comfortable in this area as well. I feel like in the shoulders, not too bad. I don't know, I think for my first coherent crochet sweater, like, I have crocheted a sweater before, but I've talked about it, I did it in like a sick fugue state, literally, and this reveals how old I am, so like, I'm calling myself out here, literally almost a decade ago. So I think that this is pretty damn good. I think this is pretty damn good for a first sweater. Once again, the free alpha pattern for this little color work section right here is going to be available down below. So if you want to use it for whatever you want to use it for, please do. That's for you. That's for the people. I hope y'all enjoy. A little bit about what I would probably do differently next time I make this sweater, because I'm probably going to make another sweater very soon. I might try to make a cardigan first and then do another sweater so I don't get too burnt out on them. I would definitely keep the body and this ribbing at the bottom the same, and the ribbing around the neck. I actually think the neckline came out really, really nice, at least for my like body shape, which is, you know, a little broader in the shoulders, nothing crazy. One thing I think I would do is I might ease up just a little bit on the sleeves, like just make them slightly shorter, ever so slightly shorter. I do think though, I like the way the ribbing looks. I personally usually roll up the sleeves of my sweater and I think it looks great like this. So like I don't know, I'm definitely gonna wear this. Oh, this is great. This came out wonderful. I'm really, really pleased with this. Anyway, thanks for watching, Fiber Friends. I hope y'all enjoyed. I hope you had fun. I hope you got some crafting done while you were watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and I'll see you on the next one.